Story time. My boyfriend found out that I had an OnlyFans. So my boyfriend and I have been together for probably 2 years. And I had just turned 18 and we decided that we were going to move in together. We both worked full-time jobs. I was a waitress, he worked at Walmart. And the restaurant that I worked at was literally a 2-minute walk from Walmart. And I was forced to get a job there by my boyfriend because he had super bad trust issues. I know you guys are going to be like, oh, well, I can see why. No. It was because of this rumor that went around right before we graduated that me and his best friend made out at a party. Ciao, anyways, back to the story. So then COVID hit. And it got to the point where him and I couldn't pay our bills or anything like that. So he got a job working for his uncle. And I went on unemployment, but it still wasn't helping. But my best friend was a stripper. And she told me that she had an OnlyFans account and that she was making really good money off of it. So since I was home every day doing absolutely nothing, I decided that I would make an OnlyFans account. And I didn't tell my boyfriend about it, like for part 2. Part 2 about how my boyfriend found out that I had an OnlyFans. So like I said, I made the OnlyFans and I didn't tell him about it. And I was only putting stuff on there like twice a week. But then my friend promoted me and I started making a lot more money. But then I started putting stuff on there every time that my boyfriend would go to work. So a month goes by and my boyfriend realizes that I have way more money than I did before. And he keeps asking me about it, but I tell him don't worry about it. Which definitely seemed really sus. Anyways, the one day while he's at work, I'm taking some pics for my OF. And I'm blasting my music. And I turn around and lo and behold, who do you think was standing in the doorway? My boyfriend. And he has his phone out and he's recording me. So then he started explaining to me that because since I gave him such bad trust issues, and I wouldn't tell him where I was getting the extra money, he set up cameras in the house. And he's been watching me for 2 weeks straight. He's still recording on his phone at this time. So we broke up, and now there's a video of me half naked on YouTube and him exposing me. Storytime about the guy who was obsessed with me. We're gonna call him Ryan. Well, Ryan had a crush on me for a long time. And one night, one of our friends asked me to go to a party with them. And Ryan was gonna be the DD. And everything was good. We were all having a great time at the party. Well, Ryan and I went off to one of the bathrooms. And we started making out. And while we're making out, he goes, I really want to fuck you, but I can't. And I'm just like, why? And he said it was because he couldn't get it up. And obviously he was embarrassed about it, which is understandable. So I left the bathroom and didn't plan on telling anybody about it. Until I walk over to a group of my guy friends, and they're telling me that apparently Ryan told everybody that we fucked. So at that point, I didn't give a fuck and I told them what actually happened. AKA that he couldn't get hard. And apparently he was mad at me after that, but I had no idea. So he said, do you still want me to take you home? So I said, yeah. And now that he drove me home, he knew where I lived. And then I got a text from one of his friends, like for part 2. Part 2 about the guy who was obsessed with me. So like I said, as soon as I got dropped off, his friend Ella texted me. And she was like, oh, it was so wrong for you to say that he couldn't get it up and a bunch of other nonsense. And I just brushed it off and I was like, whatever. So I went to sleep and the next morning then I woke up. So my house had like a gate to get in and there were locks on it and all the locks were broke. And my stepdad also saw that he slashed my fucking tires. I ended up telling him everything that happened that night and my stepdad's 32 and Ryan's 22. So they're only a 10-year difference. He basically gave me an option. He was like, either I can call the cops or I can go beat this kid's ass. I was like, okay, just call the cops. So we called the cops and they ended up catching him on the surveillance camera, like of him breaking the locks and slashing my tires and everything like that. So then they found him and arrested him. And let me get this straight. If he just wouldn't have lied about it, then it would have never came out that like he couldn't get it up. He just had to go and tell everybody that we fucked. Storytime, my gym teacher's wife found out that he was having an affair with me. So a little background information. I was a sophomore in high school, and the one night my friends and I were playing Truth or Dare. Well, a little bit into the game, my friends dared me to download Tinder and message the first 5 guys that I saw. And what do you know, the last guy that I saw on there was my gym teacher. So obviously I messaged him and I was like, hey, OMG, it's blah, blah, blah from your 3rd period class. And obviously I wasn't expecting him to answer, but he did. And he was like, oh, this is weird. How are you? So after that, my friends were like, oh, okay, like it's time to delete it. So I pretended that I did. And when they left, I started messaging him more. So we had been messaging that whole week and one thing led to another. Next thing I knew, he was sneaking me out of my house at 2 a.m. And he was like 32, so he wasn't that old. Well, for the next month, we were going to restaurants that were like an hour away. Almost every weekend, he would rent out a hotel for us. Well, the one night his wife was supposed to be out with some friends. So he invited me over like for part 2. 2 about how my gym teacher's wife found out that he was having an affair with me. So like I said, his wife was supposed to be gone the whole night because she was at the bar with her friends and they were supposed to get in a hotel. So he invited me over. So we went swimming in his pool, then we did the nasty. Well, a few hours later, him and I were sitting on the couch watching a movie. And his wife kept calling him. But he just kept ignoring it, saying that she was fine and he didn't want to answer the call and ruin our time together. So we go upstairs, lay down to go to sleep. And it's like 4 a.m. at this point. So I shit you not, literally an hour later, I wake up to his wife carefully shaking me to wake me up. She goes, honey, come downstairs. I don't want to wake him up. He has work tomorrow. And I'm like, what the actual fuck? So I went downstairs and she's like, sit at the table with me. So we're sitting at the table and she's like, I hope that we can keep this quiet. She was like, my husband's done this before. And that she can't have any of her friends knowing or anybody at school because she's a PTA mom. So she offered me money to keep my mouth shut. And then she let me go back upstairs and lay with him. What the fuck? Storytime about the guy who pretended to be gay in high school to get closer to all the girls. So it was the first day of my freshman year. And at lunch, this guy came and sat with me and my friends. And we were super confused because he was like one of the popular boys. And we were like, oh, why aren't you sitting with your friends? And he's like, oh, because ever since I came out as gay, they don't want to be friends with me anymore and they're being super mean to me. So we felt really bad and we started getting to know him and he was actually a really cool person. So we started inviting him to our sleepovers and everything like that. And because he was gay, we felt really comfortable getting dressed around him, talking about things that we wouldn't talk about in front of anybody. So like 2 months go past and at this point he knows so much about us, like stuff that nobody else knew. Like, he even knew that one of my friends was born with both private parts, which is something that she never told anybody except for me and the girls in my friend group. Well, we're all on FaceTime the one day, and my friend goes, oh, have you ever seen boobs before? And he goes, no. So we all lift up our shirt, like, for part 2. Okay, part 2 about the guy who pretended to be gay in high school to get closer to all the girls. So like I said, we all lift up our shirts, and because we were on FaceTime, we couldn't see if he screenshotted anything. And then the one night we were having a sleepover. And he was really upset that night because apparently the popular boys were making fun of him. Because the only reason why he was gay is because he couldn't get with any girls. So me and my friends thought of a solution. But like, we were just trying to be nice. And now looking on it, that is the dumbest shit that we've ever done. And we're all like, oh, well, why don't you just say that you did the nasty with all of us? And he was like, well, I don't think they'll believe it, even if you guys said, yeah, you did do it. So we were like, okay, then let's do it for real. So that night, we did the nasty, all 5 of us. So that morning, we all wake up and he's literally gone. Like, he didn't wake us up to say goodbye, which wasn't normal. So the weekend goes past. Monday, we go to school. And in the morning, my friends and I have time to walk around and everybody's just staring at us, like for part 3. Part 3 about the guy who pretended to be gay to get closer to all the girls. So like I said, we got to school and everybody's just looking at us. And all of a sudden we get tagged in this Instagram account. And there's a video of all 5 of us doing the nasty in my bedroom. There's pictures of me and my friends getting undressed. And there's a screenshot of the FaceTime where we all showed our boobs. And under the post, he was exposing a bunch of shit about us. And my one best friend was literally crying so hard because everybody now knew that she was born with like both parts. And also after gym class, we would just tell him to come in the locker room. And the teacher didn't care because he was gay. So there were also a bunch of pictures of other girls on there too. I'm not even going to talk about the legal trouble, but my parents made me move schools because they cared about my image and they didn't want me hanging out with any of those friends anymore. He got expelled. The teacher got fired for that bullshit. So that just ruined having a gay best friend for me. Oh, also my parents saw me have a foursome in my bedroom. Storytime, my boyfriend wouldn't let me break up with him, so I cheated on him with his best friend. So we're gonna call my boyfriend Jay and his best friend Mike. Well, I met these 2 boys through my best friend, and I really liked Mike. Mike and I would talk all the time. We would FaceTime 24/7, but whenever the subject of dating came up, he said that he couldn't because his best friend really liked me. So he was trying to set me up with Jay, but not really because he really liked me. So I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I'll date Jay for a little bit and then I'll break up with him. Worst mistake of my fucking life. Every time I would try to break up with this kid, he would be like, I'm gonna kill myself now. And he would send me videos with him holding up a knife to his neck, cutting his arms whenever I would say we're breaking up. So pretty much I was forced into that relationship. He was manipulative as fuck. It was just not a good situation. Well, the one day Jay was like, oh, do you want to come over Mike's house with me? And of course I said yeah, because I literally was still in love with Mike, his best friend. And my parents were super strict, so I had to sneak over there, like for part 2. Part 2 of how my boyfriend wouldn't let me break up with him, so I cheated on him with his best friend. For the new people, Mike is the best friend and Jay is the guy who I was dating. Anyway, so we get to Mike's house, right? And we're all hanging out and I was giving Mike a little bit more attention than I was giving Jay. Because obviously, I wasn't interested in Jay. So Jay decided to act like he was pissed off at me, right? And he walks out of the house, right? To see if I would chase after him. Like, obviously I'm not going to. So Mike and I are sitting there watching him walk down the street because he said he was going home. So Mike and I were sitting on the couch and we started making out. And then we heard the fucking front door open. And Jay's like, I can't believe you didn't come and talk to me after that, blah, blah, blah. What is this relationship? So then Mike steps in and he's like, yo, you need to drop her. She just tried to make out with me, blah, blah, blah. And I sat there and I was like, yeah, it's true. So Jay starts bawling his eyes out and goes to the fucking kitchen to grab a knife. So after that, Mike called the cops on him and Mike and I are finally dating now.